Dear disrupted brain, hello. So I decided that from now on, I would call my audience the disrupted brains. I hope you like it. I don't know. I kinda do. Otherwise, I wouldn't have chosen it. And yes, we're back with the follow-up, not really the follow-up, the following of the Rive tutorial that we started ages ago, that is still unfinished because we are so slow to learn new stuff. But what can we do? I must stop calling myself we. It's weird. But so the state machine. So last time we stopped at the introduction of the concept of state machine, which has been pretty central in Rive's communication when they launched. It's the new thing that the Rive team wants motion designer to learn. But I suspected that it wasn't really new. Uh, Even if as a motion designer, editor, and all of that, I never encountered the principle or the concept. But so before the live, I did a few Q&A with Claude, and I asked it a few questions, and I wanted just to go through the answers because I think it might be useful to have at least that basis for the, and also it represents what is my comprehension of the state machine at this point. So I asked it if state machines were Rive specific, which, like we said, they are not. And it said that they're a fundamental concept in computer science and that it's used in web dev, game dev, UI interactions, networking, embedded systems. The last two are a bit obscure to me, but I mean, it makes all the sense in the world that game dev would depend on state and not on time and other stuff like that. Web dev, same thing. And I asked if my basic comprehension was the correct one, that we as motion designers, we tend to interact with a data input that is pretty much all the same all the time, and that this is time. Everything we do is based on time, mostly. And apparently, I'm not off base with that reasoning because and yes, I'm sorry. I wish maybe I should rehearse, but I don't know. I just don't have the patience to do that. So it was, is it time-based versus logic-based? And it's pretty much that. So I guess we will encounter a lot of different type of data inputs that will trigger animations, unlike keyframes or expression-based animation that can rely on time. And that, and so the main piece of interaction we have, which is the timeline. I think I saw a timeline inside of Rive, but maybe it's not as central as it is in After Effects. And yes, so this is the topic of today. And I checked, so because in the very first 101 videos that are, unfortunately, the site there, this is provocation. The site is pretty broken when it comes to onboarding videos, but this one exists on YouTube. So we will start with that one because it's pretty short. And after that, we'll resume the tutorial. So, and first thing I want to say is that I really love this animation. It's funnily, I don't know who inspired who. I guess probably MKBDH or I think that's his name. Marcus, the tech YouTuber, has a new screen bumper that has the same spirits and the same type of animation, just maybe slightly better, but I'm very fond of that kind of stuff.
Here's my design, but how do I make it
I grab some water.
interactive? Well, first off, go up here and open Animate Mode, shortcut Tab. This opens Rive's state machine. The state machine allows you to transition between animations and so create any interactive experience that you want. If I press play, you'll see that we are playing timeline 1 within the state machine. Over here,
Okay, so timelines apparently are a type of data that lives inside of the state machine. I'm sorry, I think I just missed a tiny
here's my
piece
design.
of information.
But how do I make it interactive? Well, first off, go up here and open Animate Mode, shortcut Tab. This opens Rive's state machine. The state machine allows you to transition between animations and so create any interactive experience that you want. If I press play, you'll see that we are playing timeline 1 within the state machine. Over here we have a hierarchy, and at the top is state machine 1, which we already have open. Underneath is timeline 1. Let's open it and look at its settings. A timeline is where we animate our design by setting keyframes. At the beginning, I'm going to set.
So nothing new here, and it's indeed just a piece of the whole edifice that is the state machine, apparently. This is really exciting.
An X position keyframe here, then move to the end and set another one here. Timeline 1 is currently set to a one-shot. This plays our animation once and then stops. But we can change this to a loop or a ping pong.
Okay.
We can change the length of our timeline and create
We
a
can
work
change
area.
the length of our timeline. I missed the controller.
Ping pong.
Okay, so this is pretty usual.
We can change the length of our timeline.
Oh, it's here, okay. And this still looks like a preview zone.
And create a work area.
Work area. Okay, so there are at least two in-out segments, the work area and this one. He hasn't named it yet, but I suspect that... Oh no, maybe this is just the view controller to see where we sit in the timeline, probably.
Right now, what we're doing is playing timeline 1 by itself. But in order to include it in an interactive experience, what we need to do is open the state machine and play it there. By default, all state machines begin in the entry state and immediately follow this transition line down to timeline 1.
I mean, if you have your experience based on interactivity, I think it makes sense to have timelines as units to deploy time. And I suspect that this is what we'll see down the line. Like, you press a button, it triggers an animation, but this animation needs a timeline to store the time data that it needs to exist or to run if it's time-based. So yeah, maybe we will see a lot of timelines.
We can delete this transition and show you that yes, we do indeed begin at entry, and without a transition away, we are effectively stuck in entry. You can create a new transition and all state machines begin. Right now, what we're doing is playing timeline 1 by itself, but in order to include it in an interactive experience, what we need to do is open the state machine and play it there. By default, all state machines begin in the entry state and immediately follow this transition line down to timeline 1. We can delete this transition and show you that yes, we do indeed begin at entry, and without a transition away, we are yes, we do
I don't
timeline 1.
understand how it shows us that.
And immediately
but
follow
probably
this transition
missing
line
something.
down to timeline 1. We can delete this transition and show you that yes, we do indeed begin at entry, and without a transition away, we are effectively stuck in entry. You can create a new transition by clicking near a state and dragging the line over your selected state and letting go. And once again, we have immediately transitioned from entry to timeline 1. You may...
State is undefined, so I suppose that... Or maybe was it defined? Any state exits.
notice these two other boxes.
So maybe those kind of nodes are what is called states.
Any state
Oh, maybe states has been defined in another video, but yeah.
and exit. We will come to those in later tutorials. For now, you can entry to timeline being near a state and dragging the line. You can create a new transition by clicking near a state and dragging the line over your selected state and and letting go. And once again, we have immediately transitioned from entry to timeline 1. You may notice these two other boxes, any state and exit. We will come to those in later tutorials. For now, you can move the state machine around like this, and if you go too far, just tap F to find your states again.
Okay, all very classic. Okay, I think we can close this one and move back to our tutorial. And yes, we probably need to rewind a little bit because last time I just watched it kind of mesmerized because the good stuff was coming.
So with background selected, we're going to go from design mode into animate mode. And down here, we have our state machine. Now, for some reason, we have two state machines. That's actually incorrect. So I'm just going to delete that one. And we'll work with state machine 2 in this case. We have a timeline. And inside our timeline, there's no keyframes, so nothing is happening. I'm going to go back to our state machine. And if I press play on the state machine, you'll see that timeline.
So this is definitely the default state for the state machine. An entry, an exit, and an any state. What was it? Ah, crap, I already forgot. It was not component, it was not... Ah, it was a state. So any state would be a state, which maybe is weird, maybe it's not, I don't know. Oh, ah. So tab for... Oh, it has changed since then. So this they decided that... Apparently they decided that the flow was horizontal. It looks like it was undecided before because we have vertical and probably horizontal like that. Right. Anyway, when you have canvases like that, it's nice to have a global direction for the flow. And I tend to like horizontal. I don't know. In Houdini, you have both direction for flows. You have mostly vertical flow for the big stuff and for all that is shader and VOPs and things like that. So more like the code-based flows, it's horizontal. So yeah, it's a bit weird. Anyways, I like graphs like that. It's nice. Right.
Line 1 plays all the way through once. Now what I'm going to do is delete this transition, drag entry over here, and move timeline 1 up here. And I'm going to go over here and create 3 more timelines. Move state machine to the top, just to keep things tidy. And now in timeline 1, I'm going to animate the solo that we have in our hierarchy. So if you highlight...
Okay, let's do what he said. Can't control N timeline. You don't have a right click for timeline. So you have to use this little plus, which is a shame because I like shortcuts. Who doesn't? Especially in our line of work, we tend to use them all the time. So it's weird that it has been overlooked, but yes, I will stop rambling about
the
that.
solo. Over here, we can set a keyframe for whichever bike we want to be visible. So in timeline 1, I'm going to set a keyframe for the black bike. Timeline 2, blue.
Okay, so yeah, I see. So this is a weird keyframe because this is absolutely not a time keyframe. It's a keyframe that selects apparently. So solo it was in... Where does it live, the solo background? Did I do the solo? I don't remember actually. Data search assets background. What did you do? It's in hierarchy.
3.
Oh, and it's probably in the components. Yeah, okay. So let's move back to hierarchy. Okay, in there. Solo, all right. And now I need to create keyframes to select each in the timeline. Okay, but the state machine are linked to the components, it would seem. So I did create my timelines at an incorrect location. I don't like how order is handled either, but it's okay. So you timeline 2, I want you. I don't think I'm doing it correctly. Okay, so it doesn't have it. And if I move, yeah. Okay, I think I'm doing it correctly. I hope there's a better way to do this because it's a bit annoying. Sorry, I'm just being a jerk about it. I don't know. I should be more.
Green. And 4. White.
What's my problem actually? Is that, yeah, I already don't like that kind of tiny manual manipulation. I would love to be able to create that kind of thing with much less clicks. Like it has been at least 12 or 15 clicks to achieve that, which is a bit weird if you ask me, but because maybe I'm biased too, because I saw the result at the end. It was a freaking switch node. Maybe it's more than that, but yeah.
Excellent. We now have 4 different timelines, each with their own unique keyframes. We can go into our state machine and drag the other 3 timelines onto the state machine stage.
Like that. Can't you bulk grab them and drop them? No, you can't. What? Wait. Okay. Wait a sec. If I if I let go of the click, it's okay. If I let go of the click, I change the focus, which, and that's the reason I can't select all of those because there's no marquee selection either. Huh. Okay, so timeline 1 was already in there. So that too, I don't like. I think this is inefficient. Okay, let's move that over. It did a nice little. Okay, so grabbing one of those is a bit annoying too. I want to drag, not to create a data stream, a link. Ah, okay.
We can create transitions from the any state to each of our timelines. Now, an any state basically lets you transition from any state to any other state. And I'm going to highlight all 4 of these transitions and go down here and create a condition for all 4 transitions. And this is where we can use our viewModel property, index num, as a condition in the state machine. So for our first transition.
Okay, slow down, buddy. So I need to create links to the any state. Okay, so the connector thing appears when you're near the border, but not inside the node. I don't know why I have a transition here. Okay, it's easy to delete. I'm not sure he has one here either. And now he selected all of that and did something over here. Change source, change target. What is that? Okay. It's another little window. I don't know what this panel is. Is it a transition panel?
We can say if index num is equal to 0, then we transition.
Okay. Go back just
And this is where we can use our view model state to any other state. I'm going to highlight all 4 of these transitions and go down here and create a condition for all 4 transitions.
Okay, let's create the condition. If
and this is where we can use our view model property index num as a condition in the state machine. So for our first transition, we can say if index num is equal to 0, then we transition to timeline 1.
Okay, so I don't have the view model property, and it's one of 2 things. Either I didn't do it. Oh, layers. What? Either I didn't do it the last time, or I'm doing this in the incorrect place. Okay, let's add another timeline. Instead, no, I must have forgot to build the view thing condition. So maybe I didn't rewind enough.
This element soon with an actual list. And now if we select the artboard and change its size, the different elements move accordingly. Okay, now that we have everything arranged using layouts, we can now start using data binding. Once again, data binding is a way of creating and controlling various properties that you can use to control your designs and also as conditions in the state machine. But the interesting thing about these properties, called view model properties, is that you can actually control them in code. So if we had data binding in this file controlling these numbers, these view model properties would be exposed to the developer who's working on your project. And that doesn't matter whether or not it's in an app, a game, or on a website. Rive has a whole bunch of free open source runtimes that let developers access and control these view model properties. So with that being said, let's create our first view model property. So let's select our menu artboard. And over here, you can see the view model that we renamed earlier. And if we go over to our data,
Okay, I probably didn't do that either. Okay, I completely forgot what it did, and it was probably even earlier inside of the video. Tag, no, it's not that. I may really not be able to figure that out. That's a shame. Open data table, export instance. Okay, so now I have 2. I don't know why. Stage menu, stage data view model. There it is. It was an integer, I suppose. number, maybe.
Panel, we can see a view model that we renamed earlier. And if we go over to our data panel, see the view model that we renamed earlier. And if we
Model. Okay. Menu, view model. Okay, so naming doesn't happen here. Okay, it's here. Ah, bind instance one. Okay.
go over to our data panel, we can see it here. I'm going to create a number property, and I'll call it index num. And now over here,
Index num instead of instance, I suppose. No.
here you can see that index num has a default value of 0, and we can change this to be whatever we want, but I'm going to leave it as 0. And now that we have this property, we can now use it as a condition in our state machine. But which state machine? Since each artboard and component, that is the simplest use to 0, then we transition to timeline 1. If index num is equal to 1, then timeline 2.
Okay, so there we were. And let's move back to the background components. Call back the state machine, see our condition. Yes, I do have index num. And if I change the value, I should be able to likewise change the model, except it's not happening. What did I miss? Let's see.
Two equal to 1, then timeline 2. If index, this is where we can use our view model property index num as a condition in the state machine. So for our first transition, we can say if index num is equal to 0, then we transition to timeline 1. If index num is equal to 1, then timeline 2, 2, timeline 3, and 3, timeline 4.
Okay,
now,
so you
if I was to press play on this state
you have to manually
machine
input
and then go
the bindings actually. So you are 1, you are 2, and you are 3. Okay, it was already 3.
into our data panel, you can see that we don't have index num available to us to change. This is because index num is contained in the view model for the menu. And so right now, because index num is going to have index num available to us to change. This is because index num is contained in the view model for the menu. And so right now, if we wanted to control index num, we need to be playing the state machine for the menu. So let's highlight our menu artboard and press play on its state machine. And you can see index num up here. And we can change it to 1, 2, or 3.
I'm not certain I get it, but let's see.
Awesome.
Okay.
That, and we could. So let's highlight our menu artboard and press play on its state machine.
Press play on its state machine. And now, okay, I got. Hmm. Where is the blue one? Oh.
And you can index num up here.
Index num animate design data. Animate. So clearly, stuff in the UI moved around, but if I remove that, does that help? Oops. Okay, I think it's working, but I don't think I'm handling all of that correctly. Especially the not playing parts. For instance, I don't think I understand why the default one is the blue one. And as soon as I play, I move to the yellow one. I suppose that's because it's index 0. What if I change the index to 3? I'm on the white one now. Whoa. Okay. Let's move on.
And we can change it to 1, 2, or 3. Awesome. That is the simplest use of data binding that we're going to have in this project. Now what I want to implement is that whenever we change the value of index num, we activate an animation happening in the background. And that animation will just be animating the scale and opacity of the background. So if we're going to animate this background, we should animate it in its component. So open its hierarchy and select the solo. And the simplest way to do this would be to animate the scale and opacity in timeline 1, 2, 3, and 4. But if we're trying to minimize the number of keyframes that we're using, what I'm going to do is give this set machine another layer so that we can just play the same timeline when index num changes. And I'm going to call this timeline scale and opacity. And I'm going to animate the solos, scale keyframes, and opacity keyframes. So go into your timeline, highlight solo, tap U to see all existing keyframes.
That's interesting.
And I'm going to set the opacity to 0 and the scale to 102. And then we're going to go forward to frame 30 and set the opacity back to 100 and set the scale back to 100 as well. Next, highlight the scale keyframes and we'll change their interpolation to start off fast and slow down. And this is what that animation looks like.
Okay. So back to the component. What is that? Why is that locked? Okay. Weird. So layer 2 I have already. I'm not quite sure about layers yet, but where they fit inside of that, because I understand that we have our timeline inside. We have those keyframes will be linked to the solo, that I get it. I need the timeline. Did you create a new timeline? Yes, called scale and opacity. Okay, no, and that lives in the state machine 1 too. No, there's a
I'm actually going to make the opacity change a little bit quicker.
there's a new state machine. Oh no, that's the same state machine because he had a duplicate and kept only number 2. So no new state machine. So you can have layer to a state machine. That's what it is. The divider entry, we'll see that. So let's go inside of the timeline. I don't remember what was. So size. The properties. I want to change down the solo. Yes, scale. So let's have it uniform and opacity. That's this one. So have the, oh, that's nice. You press the key U like in After Effects to reveal the keys. So this muscle memory can be kept. And you go down to 0 and you 102 as it was. And okay, like so. That's too quick. So why is it not scaling correctly? If I locked the freaking thing, I don't understand. Okay. Do you see any scaling happening? Because I must be missing it. Yeah, okay. That's on me. Okay, but the easing is not uniform because I did the keys after. Okay, that's better.
Okay, we can now open our state machine and drag scale and opacity onto the state machine, connect it to entry, and then drag another scale and opacity onto the state machine and connect that to the other one in both directions. And we can now activate these transitions using index num. So if I highlight both of them, create condition, and we can say if index num is not equal to itself, then we transition.
If index num is not equal to itself, we transition. Sure. If index num is not equal to itself, We transition. Is that it? Yes.
And this means that if we go back into the menu and press play, the animation plays. If it is no longer equal to itself, then we play that scale and opacity animation. It's pretty cool.
There's something I miss, I think.
State machine layers are
Probably the fact that values depend on something that I don't understand yet. So okay. Ooh, this is annoying. Oh, what? Really? I can't erase number in that field. Okay. Oh, probably what we see here is determined by uh, what I have in the solo. Yeah, okay. So now if I do that, and you are, I suppose. Huh. Okay. So now it should be always the black one instead of the blue one. If I'm there. And let's say that I want the index value let's say 3. No. Okay. It's starting to make some kind of sense, but it's not
extremely
yet.
useful to know. Now let's if it is no longer equal to itself, then we play that scale and opacity animation. It's pretty cool. State machine layers are extremely useful to know.
There's one thing that I don't get is that he can edit his value honestly. What the heck is happening? Okay, so 2, 1, 0. I think I missed the blue one. So I should bind it to either one or two, because right now it's not working properly. Hmm. So where does that leave? It's in there. How do I know who has what? So blue, no, black bike, it's living inside of timeline 2. Oh, there's nothing inside of timeline 3. Right. So yeah, okay. It was not that I double bind the black one. It was, oh, okay. This is the problem. I have the blue bike in both locations. No, it's not that I have the blue bike in both locations. Is that two bikes ended up inside of the same timeline, which made the black one appear twice. Okay, let's go back to testing all of that. New data, no. Data, yes. Okay, play. 3. This field feels definitely pretty buggy to me. What's the... Okay. I'm probably no longer playing. Yes. Why isn't the black one showing up anymore? I'm really confused. And when I go back, okay. Timeline 2. Bike blue. Bike black. So it says black bike, but it's showing the blue bike. I don't know why the keyframe is for if what determines who's showing up is this, but I might be missing something. So, what would be a nice experiment is just to, for this, for the test, let's remove all keyframes from this. Okay, so there are keyframes on the solo, but that's because of the, and just use that. So the solo selection, 2 black, 3 blue, and 4 white. Okay. 0. Okay. That's what I thought. Those keyframes were not really the culprit. It's all about the solo selection. But at least we got it working. Maybe the keyframes are preparation for something else.
Now
down
let's
the
use data
line.
binding to control these numbers, and therefore the size of these bars. And let's also control this title. To do this, we need to go into our stats component, and we need to give it its own view model. So just click plus to create a new view model. This will be called view model 1. Then go over into your data panel, and we can rename this stats view model. And we're going to
If everything is a view model, do we really need to call them view models? Anyways, let's do that. Data.
give this view model a.
So we keep the index name. Okay, so all view models still live inside of here. View model, new view model, and you are stats. Or maybe it's because at some point we will need to differentiate artboards and view models. So yeah, let's use the VM thing. Maybe it's useful after all. And we there is definitely something buggy about those fields, and it's really annoying. Yeah, you cannot make typos because you cannot erase. This is really hellish, honestly. What what's what is this red thingy? What do you mean? Oh, okay. So you're not happy about something like you're not happy about the space, right? Maybe if you weren't so annoying, there wouldn't be a space. Okay. So I lost track of it. I
String
suppose it
property
will be a float. No string.
and 4
Okay.
number properties.
Oh yeah. Okay. Okay. So numbers are both. You can have. There's no there's no differentiation between float and integers, which makes me a little sad. So I see that there is this little bird thing. Bird, it's not at all a bird. It's a snail thing like in After Effects. So I suppose that you can bind things like that. So I guess we will need to name all of those.
I'll call the string property title. This one power. This one speed, acceleration, and
Wait a sec. Okay, so you can control R to rename something in hierarchy, but you can't do that inside of data. That's maybe something they should address. F2, no. So what is it? level. Power. Speed. Acceleration and handling. Oh my god. How annoying is this? Really? How is it spelled? Okay. I don't care. It's too annoying. In the annoying bug family, I'm calling whatever this is. Okay. I didn't press it twice. Oh my god. I'm going crazy. This is insane. You cannot rename freaking view models. I'm like surprised. Yeah, I know I can type, but honestly, gracias. Fuck me.
Handling. And we're going to be using these numbers to control strings, which means that we need to create a converter, which converts our numbers to strings. In the converter settings, over here, that we need to create, and we're going to be using these numbers to control strings, which means that we need to create a converter, which converts our numbers to strings. In the converter settings, over here in the inspector, and we're going to be using these numbers to control strings, which means that we need to create a converter, which converts our numbers to strings. In the converter settings, over here in the inspector, we can click round decimals on and remove trailing zeros. Now go into your
Okay, let's do a converter. Converter from number convert to string. Okay. Remove trailing zero. Yeah.
hierarchy, and to select a layer, just hold down Command, and then you'll find it in your hierarchy. Let's open its text run, right-click, data bind, and we'll take in the title viewModel property. Now, as you can see, the string has not updated. It only updates if I press play on the state machine. It says initial value because that is the initial value of the viewModel property. However, if you want to see bound values without having to press play on your state machine, just go up here and toggle on Preview Bound Values, or the shortcut Command B. I'm going to change this title to level 1, and then we'll continue binding these properties. So hold down Command to find it in the hierarchy, in the text run, data bind, and we'll take in power. And then because power is a number, we need to add a converter, and that would be the convert to string converter that we made earlier. Let's do the same with this number.
Okay, let's see if I can do it. So, yeah, I'm not at the correct location. Okay, I will need 1 sec. Okay, so I missed a step.
And we'll take in power. And then because power is a number, we need to add in just go up here and toggle on. It says initial value property. Now, as you can see, text run, right your vector, we can click round decimals on and remove trailing zeros. Now go into your hierarchy, and to select a layer, just hold down Command, and then you'll find it in your hierarchy. Let's open its text run, right click, data bind, and we'll take in the title view model. Property. Now, as you can see, the string has not updated. It only updates if I press play on the state machine. It's
It only updates if I press play on the state machine, which I did, but it didn't update for me. Is my data binding unfinished? Maybe. Bind data.
says initial value because that is the initial value of the view.
Oh boy. I don't have anything like but I do have this, which is, I don't know what it is. I'm not sure he
model
has
property
it.
because that is the initial value.
Okay, yes, he has it. Maybe they changed something.
It says initial value because that is the initial value of the view model property. However, if you want to see bound,
How do I know that I have something bound or not? Yeah, it looks like I know that I... Yes, so this green thing is an indication that I have something bound. The problem is that I don't really see what it is. My cat is doing crazy stuff here. Stop it, please. Whatever. Okay, so my data is bound. I simply don't have the same Oh. Huh. Okay, I have the same thing he has, but the road was a bit different to get there because I had to choose between. Okay, this is a bit obscure, but oops. Okay, so at some point I had to choose, and I don't know how I undo this, but we're back on track with the tutorial, so I
Values
guess
without
that's
having to
a
press play
thing.
on your state machine. Just go up here and toggle on Preview.
Okay.
Bound Values, or the shortcut Command B. I'm going to change this title to level 1, and then we'll continue binding these properties. So hold down Command to find it in the hierarchy, in the text run, data bind, and we'll take in power.
Bind to power, convert to string. When he's doing his selection, I I feel
And
he's
then because
going
power is a
straight to the run, which I'm not, and
number, we need these. So hold down Command 1, and then
I
we'll
find
continue
this
binding these
annoying.
properties. So hold down Command to find it in the hierarchy, in the text run, data bind, and we'll take in power. And then because power is a number, we need to add a converter, and that would be the convert to string converter that we made earlier. Let's do the same with this number.
Yeah. Why is it unfolded for you and not for me? Hmm? Okay. Data binds, your speed. We want to convert as well. Excel. Okay. Okay. So there is some kind of yellow indication going on, which I don't understand at the moment. Handling. Right. So
Speed, add the converter. And finally, handling. In the data panel, you can see that we change these numbers and it updates our design.
Still unclear to me how you move from ah, okay. What? Oh no. No, this is obnoxious. So what happened here is that I was inputting increasing values inside of that field with the keyboard arrows, and at some point it stopped increasing the field and started moving that. This is not okay. Now I'm back to, oh my god. I'm back to this. Okay. And let's see if, no, that's not what happened. Okay. Right. I suspected that maybe it started to move this thing because I moved the mouth over there, but apparently that's not what happened. No, if I did click. Anyways. So I've lost focus on the bond data, and that's probably because I'm not on something that has the data. No, that's not the reason. Okay, so you have to uncheck and recheck to go back. This also doesn't scream intended behavior to me, but...
Now back to the hierarchy, shortcut Command 1, and we can locate these rectangles, and we're going to bind the width of their layouts. So data bind, and bind it to power. Do the same.
Shortcut,
so
what?
data. Now back to the hierarchy, shortcut Command 1, and we
Oh.
can locate these rectangles, and we're going to bind the width of their layouts. So data bind, and bind it to power. Do the same with this bar. Find its layout.
Okay, so let's grab layout and bind the width to the power. And it indeed just updated with the current value. This is nice to see. You layout bind to, no, it was the width that I need to bind, not that. Why is it yellow? Layout. I think I did something. Okay. Data binds to speed. All right. Acceleration, the rectangle, then the layout, then right click on width, then bind to acceleration. Nice. And handling. So poor handling will be terrible, but we have to accept it. It's the shape of this motorcycle that needs to be at 0. Yes. All right.
And then bind its layout's width to speed. Same with acceleration, layout, bind its layout's width to acceleration, and handling, layout, width, bind, handling. Now open your data panel, Command 3, and when you change these numbers, not only does it change the string, but it also changes the size of the bar.
Yeah, okay.
And once again, these numbers and that title string can be controlled in real time by your developer. Now let's go to our menu artboard, and you'll see that the view model properties are not updating, even if we...
What? They're not updating? No. Don't tell me they're not updating. They're not. How dare they? No, they're not. They are really reluctant properties that refuse to
select the artboard
update.
and press play on the state machine. This is because the menu artboard is bound to the menu view model, which currently only has one view model property. This is the only property we have access to from here. So how do we get access to these view model properties? Well,
Good question.
what we can do is give the menu view model a property of the stats view model. This
Okay.
will give the menu view model access to all of the properties contained within the stats view model. So just highlight your menu view model, click plus, go down to view models, and give it stats view model as a property.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so maybe this time I need to undo that. Yes. And give some nesting of the view model. And I suppose that once I go back to hierarchy here, see data, see that. No. No, it's not doing the thing.
All we need to do now is highlight that component in the hierarchy and bind this component to that specific property.
Yes. So now it's doing the poor handling we expected
of the stats
to
view
do.
model. You can see that those properties have now updated, and if we press play on the state machine and open the data panel, you'll see that we can control them.
Let's play on the state machine, open the data panel. Not visible here. What did I do wrong again? Maybe I need to have that selected. No, I don't see it. Why? Why are you doing this to me? Did I bind the card? So I don't have access to them either. So, oh, no. Here? No. What is this component instance? Go with. Okay, so I think I'm pretty fed up.
In real time from the menu artboard. Pretty cool.
Yeah, pretty cool, except that
You'll see that we
it's not behaving the same for me.
can control them in real time. Click place a property of a view model, which currently only has one view model property.
Did I ask you to come here, you? Hmm? Okay, so this I have. Only it's not appearing here, but here. Right. It's I don't understand, honestly. Huh. Ah, okay. So this index num. Okay, so there it is. Okay, let's give it some grip. Okay, I was starting to get pissed off, but it's living here. It's just really not easy to get. So you have to, but he was
This is the only
using,
property we have access to from here. So how do we get access to these viewModel properties? Well, what we can do is give the menu viewModel a property of the stats viewModel. This will give the menu viewModel access to all of the properties contained within the stats viewModel. So just highlight your menu viewModel, click plus, go down to viewModels, and give it stats viewModel as a property. All we need to do now is highlight that component in the hierarchy and bind this component to that specific property of the stats viewModel. You can see that those properties have now updated, and if we press play on the state machine and open the data panel, you'll see that we can control them in real time from.
okay, so I think the big difference is that they moved the data over here because it's more like a property that is accessible, at least interactively, when it's green. It being green is somewhat equivalent to playing the timeline. Having the timeline playing means that you have made a choice. So, a choice. Like you're watching a state, so you don't have access to all of that stuff over here, making it disappear. Control B. Yes. Oh, hmm. If I play, I bind, or if I do that, I bind too. Difference is with the image. That means that right now I only have this selected as bound stuff. Mm, but the timeline reflects all bindings. So just to be clear, if I take everything there, mm, why can't I have can't index name? Okay, doesn't look like I can have everything displayed at once, but he can, so
the
I
menu
must have
artboard.
missed something.
You can see the property of the stats view model. You can see that those properties have now updated, and if we press play on the state machine and open the data panel, you'll see that we can control them in real time from the menu artboard. Pretty cool. Now, as you know, we have 4 different bikes, and each of them is hierarchy and all of the properties contained within the stats view model. So just highlight your menu view model, click plus, go down to view models, and give it stats view model as a property. All we need to do now is highlight that component in the hierarchy and bind this component to that specific property of the stats view model. You can see that those properties have now updated, and if we press play on the state machine and open the data panel, you'll see that we can control them in real time.
Uh, I might have missed that part where this is supposed to be selected.
From the menu artboard. Real time, highlight that component in the hierarchy and bind this model. This will give the menu view model access to all of stats. Is give the menu view model a property of the stats view model. This will give the menu view model access to all of the properties contained within the stats view model. So just highlight your menu view model, click plus, go down to view models.
I think I didn't do the highlight part, and maybe that's why I'm suffering so much. So we're back to not having. Okay, so let's select you and add the stat view model. No, I don't think it had anything to do with it. I'm starting to feel a little annoyed. Okay. I think I can have them both like that. Maybe that's enough.
And give it stats view model as a property. All we need to do now is highlight that component in the hierarchy and bind this component to that specific property of the stats view model. You can see that those properties have now updated, and if we press play on the state machine and open the data panel, you'll see that we can control them in real time.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of how values are displayed in the newer version of Rive. That makes some things a little unclear when you follow an older tutorial. But at least, even if there are some annoying, at least to me, quirks, we mostly have succeeded in following the tutorial. Looks like such I don't know, such a feat. But actually, yeah, it was not that trivial, I think. So let's do a quick summary. Data binding is nice, it's cool, it's powerful, uh, but user experience is weird and buggy. So hopefully this will get fixed, and hopefully I will find my marks in that software and start to feel a little more at ease with all those quirks that are probably for a good part just me discovering Rive. Nonetheless, are you kidding me? Okay, so now it's working again, which is driving me crazy. But so this was a fetch, some kind of fetch data. So you know, fetch props. So now it's working perfectly, which is really irritating. And I really wonder why it was broken earlier. So this too is weird. Like, why can't I select something now? So let's go to hierarchy. It's still not selectable. So I have to exit the animate mode and go back to animate mode to reset the ability to select. Honestly, this is annoying, but this was also annoying, but now it's working. So maybe I triggered some kind of weird blockage, but really it did happen and it was annoying like hell. So yeah, maybe at some point I will need to uh, watch these things, which I'm not doing at the moment, uh, just to take note of every little crazy thing that annoyed me and were buggy, and maybe send a bug report. But really, this is weird. This is weird, and okay, so now it's selected. Mhm. It's driving me a little insane, I must tell. Okay, so maybe it's on me too. It's because I'm still not used to working with the timeline, and at the moment, the timeline is locked because it's playing. The difference is not super noticeable. Yeah, okay, so this is happening when I want to select something, but I still have the timeline playing. So it's definitely on me. Hmm. So maybe earlier, no, because instance value source type, no, that's not what happened. Okay, maybe maybe I'm just completely, I don't know, unlucky. Well, this was supposed to be the conclusion earlier, and now I'm back to venting and criticizing and uh, being unpleasant to the UI. So I think we have to call it a day and keep moving on with this tutorial. And let's just scan what the next chapters are, because, so what's your name? Instances. Then we have lists, then item state machine logic, then listeners, audio event, list index, using list index in state machine, and finishing up. Okay, we have a lot of stuff to see still, and yeah, we'll get back to that another day. Thanks for watching. Sorry for being so pissed, uh, but that's,
From the menu up,
oops, that's the game, I suppose. I hope it's not too much of a turn off. Feel free to say so if it is. And yeah, I hope this gives you some kind of, uh, I hope it makes you want to discover Rive too. And yeah, just see you next time.